RFID, or radio frequency identification, is a technology that allows us to make quick payments and unlock doors, but I've been experimenting with it in a different way, by embedding a transceiver in my hand. At SparkFun, we sell a wide array of RFID products, including multiple kinds of readers and a variety of tags, including the glass capsule tag. But it is important to note that the tags I'm going to use in the procedure we're about to show you are not the tags that we sell on SparkFun.com. I bought my tags pre-sterilized in an injection assembly from a company called DangerousThings.com, and as the name implies, they are in fact a dangerous thing. Anytime that you open the skin and insert a foreign body, then you're introducing the risk of infection and injury. So do not do this at home unless you have carefully considered the risks and you're working with an experienced piercing professional. So without further ado, let's get weird. The first thing that I'm going to do is prepare the area for the procedure by laying down a nice sterile mat. That way I can open sterile instruments and lay them down without risk of contamination. Now with Prevantix PDI, I'm going to prepare the injection site. It kills bacteria and reduces the risk of infection. Now with a sterile surgical pen, I'm going to measure and mark the metacarpal bone of the index finger. Trace that bone down to the trapezoid bone, which is where that bone connects with your thumb, and basically draw a line there. Now I'm not actually drawing a line because I can kind of clearly see my metacarpal bone, but I want to mark the midway point between my knuckle and the trapezoid. Next, I'm going to abduct my thumb, basically pull my thumb up against my index finger so that the triangular area of my hand here makes a hump shape. And I want to follow the line that I've just drawn at the midpoint of my metacarpal bone out to the top of that hump and put a dot there. That should be the location where my tag rests. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a mark where I'm going to inject the transponder, and that mark should be a couple millimeters, maybe more than a centimeter, up from the injection site, sort of closer to the knuckle of the index finger. Now I can unpackage the injection assembly. You want to make sure to remove the safety clip from the plunger of the injection assembly. If you don't do this now, it's going to be really hard to do once the needle is actually in your hand. Before I actually make the injection, I need to roll and tent the skin in the area where the tag's going to sit. This dislodges large blood vessels from the muscle tissue. Now, keeping the injection assembly parallel to my index finger, I'm going to go ahead and apply slow and steady pressure and push the needle through the dermis so that it's resting in between the layers of the dermis and the fascia. Once the needle has made its way back to the central mark where I want the tag to rest, I'm going to go just a little bit deeper in order to create a pocket parallel to the metacarpal bone for the transponder to sit in. I back the needle out just a few millimeters and then start depressing the plunger in order to push the tag out into the spot where I want it to sit. As I depress the plunger, I pull the needle out, and then I cover it with a little bit of gauze and hold the gauze in place until the bleeding stops. And there it is, the tag is in place. It's been a few weeks now since the procedure that you just watched, and as you can tell, the whole site has healed up really well. The swelling's gone completely down. There's a little bit of a mark here from the injection site, and that will actually leave a small scar. As you can see on my other hand, this implant is actually a few months old at this point, and there's just the slightest discoloration here where the injection site is. I'm using one of our ID20 RFID readers on the back of a USB RFID Explorer. The tag in my right hand is a 125 kilohertz RFID tag, which can be read with our whole range of ID Innovations RFID readers. And if I wave my right hand over it, you'll hear a beep, and you can see my ID number pops up on the screen. While the 125 kilohertz tag has a slightly higher read range, it also doesn't carry any data except for its unique ID number. The one in my left hand is a near-field compatible RFID tag, which runs at 13 megahertz and can talk to anything that's near-field communication. I have a Samsung Galaxy S4, which is an NFC-compatible phone, and if I just place it over my left hand, right where the implant site is, it should make a noise. And you can see NFC request comes up and asks if you want to download contact info for my phone number. The near field tag carries all sorts of information. In fact, the one in my hand right now has been programmed with my contact info. So if I swipe my hand along a cell phone, it automatically downloads all of my contact info. Here's a practical application of the RFID capsule in my hand. Now when I park my car, I don't have to take my keys with me because I can simply unlock the door with my hand. Like that. Just behind the sticker on my driver's side window, there's one of our ID12 RFID readers. I have that connected to an Arduino using a piece of Cat5 cable that goes down through my door panel, and the Arduino is connected to a few of our Beefcake relay kits. Those relay kits are tapping into the existing door lock controls for my truck.
This is an order that is essentially a starting place for the US government in terms of how it's going to approach cryptocurrency on a macro level, and not just a one-off case, and not just one agency's approach. The order itself does not really implement something particularly new that is going to happen and that people need to do right away. But I think it is a sign, that crypto is here to stay, that regulations, will be coming. There are a lot of requirements in this order for the various departments in the U.S. government to report back. And just given the breadth of this order, I would bet that we're going to see more orders in the future with particular guidance. The U.S. dollar is obviously the preferred method of exchange throughout the world. That our economy would consider also adding a digital dollar, I think, is a huge endorsement to the technology, to the viability of blockchain, which has so many uses, and so I think it's perhaps the most significant part of this order. When the President of the United States is issuing a detailed executive order about cryptocurrency, I think that is a moment that the community celebrates, because it really shows, that cryptocurrency is mainstream. It's here to stay.
Like, you just literally put your hand up and you're good to go. Like, that's crazy.
Hi, my name's Charlie Warzel. I'm a senior writer with BuzzFeed News. And in order to see what the future of money looks like, I decided to live for a month just paying for things with my phone. And somewhere along the line, I ended up getting a microchip implanted inside my hand to see if I could be the first person in the world to pay for something out in the real world using just their hand. I basically wanted to try to download as many apps onto my phone as possible and make sure that I could use alternative currencies and try to skirt cash or credit cards any way possible.
Using your phone as a payment method, we call that a proximity mobile payment. And we estimate that by the end of 2016, US adults will spend $27 billion using their phone at the point of sale. But you look at that in the context in card volumes, that's a pretty small drop in the bucket.
Hey there, do you guys accept Apple Pay or any of the card reader things for your phone? Can't buy anything here, right? Okay. All right, thank you very much. When you're only using your phone to pay for things, you find that you're sort of pushed to two extremes. Really big chain stores or really small, niche, kind of overpriced coffee shops and places like that. A couple weeks into my experiment, I ended up going to Sweden. Sweden happens to be way far ahead of the United States when it comes to getting rid of cash. I ended up meeting with some people who are really active in the biohacking community and found that you could actually implant an RFID NFC chip in your hand.
So take a deep breath with me and exhale.
And so I figured if I could put it in my hand, maybe I'd be able to pay for something with my hand.
That was it. Breathe.
Yeah.
Keep breathing.
How's it feel?
it's like pinchy. It definitely hurt like way more than they said it was going to. It looks sort of like a grain of rice or like a pill that's in my hand.
I think the idea of using a microchip implant in one's hand to be able to make a payment, I do question the mainstream application of it, but I really think there might be other ways where that might come to fruition, not necessarily through like a surgical implant, but through other kind of integrations with the body.
So once everything healed, I decided that I needed to start focusing on how to make this chip work. And I really wanted to become the first person to ever pay for a meal at a restaurant with their hand. Eventually, I stumbled across a Venmo engineer who said that he could help me with my task. What they decided is that they would put my Venmo unique user ID onto my chip, which would basically make it so that any phone would recognize my hand as a Venmo app.
You're gonna write your secret token for Venmo, and you're gonna go up there, they're gonna scan your hand, put how much we owe, that's it.
Takes a second. Here we go.
So you're good to go.
That was so sick, dude. That's amazing. That was sick.
Yes!
That's gnarly.
That was insane!
We actually accomplished what we set out to do, and I kind of couldn't believe that it was ever going to happen. Like, I thought I got this thing jammed in my hand for nothing. My hand is paying for everything today. If the wallet is here, and your phone is sort of a healthy middle ground, something like the chip felt to me like the furthest possible extreme of, futuristic technology.
The challenge with mobile payments is that, especially in the US, it's so easy to use cards.
After doing this experiment, I would bet that in about 10 years, it's kind of abnormal to carry around a wallet that's just stuffed full of cash.
That's insane. Paying with the hands. What's next? Paying with the foot?
Tell you herself about carbon and graphene.
Carbon is an essential element of life and is also one of the most abundant elements on Earth. Carbon occupies a place in the second row of the periodic table, right above silicon. A single carbon atom consists of 6 protons, 6 or 7 neutrons, and 6 electrons. 6 protons, 6 or 7 neutrons, and 6 electrons.
Whoa, what did she say? Did she say 6 or 7 and 6? Let me just look that up. No, that would be 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. That's pretty interesting when you think about it.